Tech.com with your daily news update. Okay, I'm starting out a little early today, about 10 minutes early. I tried something last night, playing some super short clips at the beginning of my video, and people seem to like that a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again today. Here we are on October the 1st. Welcome to October. I hope you started your Christmas shopping. October 1st in the year of our Lord 2025. Let's jump over here and share this tidbit for you as a preview before we get into our real low-down dirty information. Here we go.
Pro hoc vice. This is a foreign attorney who wants to come in and represent, there he is, James Comey, criminal former FBI director. This attorney, solo practitioner, not with a law firm as it stands right now, and he's been with some big law firms, but solo right now. He's got a Gmail address. There's his P.O. box. He's been around a bunch of other districts: Southern District of New York, Eastern District of New York, Northern District of Illinois, Southern District of Illinois, Western District of Michigan, Eastern District of Wisconsin, and the Northern District of Indiana. But not, apparently, the Eastern District of Virginia, which is where James Comey is, because he was testifying remotely back during COVID from this location. He says, all right, I know I'm not a licensed attorney here. Full admission can come later. He confirms, I've not been reprimanded. Nobody is saying there's any problems with my character or fitness. I've read the rules, and I certify that within 90 days that I will have read the rules and be familiar with the local court things and all that stuff. So he says, this is my signature coming in. The person vouching for him right here, Jessica Carmichael, all of that comes in. All right, so who is this dude? Patrick Fitzgerald, the current attorney representing James Comey, is this fella. Former U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, and former partner and an American attorney. He was, for a decade, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, served as U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, that's Maureen Comey land, and Chief of the Organized Crime Terrorism Unit from 1995. He prosecuted Osama bin Laden, golly, Omar Abdel Rahman, and Ramzi Youssef. He was also special counsel for the Justice Department, was former prosecutor in charge of the Valerie Plame affair with Dick Cheney. As a federal prosecutor, also led a number of high-profile investigations, including Rod Blagojevich, remember him? Which he says is a total scam. So he prosecuted him. Here's the application for admission pro hoc vice. This is a foreign attorney who wants to come in and represent, there he is, James Comey, criminal former FBI director. This attorney, solo practitioner, not with a law firm as it stands right now, and he's been with some big law firms, but solo.
Now, while Democrats are busy virtue signaling in all the fawning legacy media outlets that no one watches anymore, Trump has positioned his most dangerous weapon, Rust vote, to execute the most devastating government restructuring in American history. As you just heard Mike Johnson say there, with all non-essential departments immediately shut down, the management and authority over the day-to-day federal affairs moves over to the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. And what the OMB now has the power to do are things like impose mass layoffs. And the key here is that unlike previous shutdowns, where federal employees were simply furloughed and later got back pay, Vote has already directed agencies to implement permanent reduction in force layoffs during the shutdown. So technically, this is not temporary. These aren't layoffs. These people are getting fired permanently. They have just inadvertently triggered a full implementation of the very Project 2025 they so desperately feared and campaigned against. Would that not be the epitome of irony? That everything Project 2025 sought to implement got triggered precisely because of the Democrats' own political degeneracy? Well, that is exactly what appears to be happening right now as we speak.
The president turning to mocking Democratic leadership with an AI-generated video on social media with fabricated and false audio. The video shows an AI version of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero and a fake mustache.
When someone says something obvious, someone else usually says, "Thanks, Captain Obvious."
The president turning to mocking Democratic leadership with an AI-generated video on social media with fabricated
footage that is unbelievable from last night. Is Rick or at least certain people there, the women that can't go out at night, are people appreciative of the fact that President Trump has now said, we're not going to play this game anymore. I'm sending people in and we're going to clean this mess up?
Yeah. So, by the way, Rick is a big War Room Posse fan, but that's the question. Are the folks like you that live here that have to go through this every day, are you appreciative of President Trump saying he's going to come in and clean it up?
Absolutely. They can't send those people in here, the National Guard in here fast enough. Come in here and wipe these people out. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Yeah. Can't happen fast enough.
Let me give you the latest soundbite from Barack Obama about his marriage to Michelle. Oh, sorry, reversing that.
always
Michelle Obama
have
about her
the
marriage
kids to talk about, right?
Right.
But not on a day-to-day basis. So now that we're empty nesters, it's like, well, what are we going to talk about? So we're together all day, and we do this thing where it's like, I'll see him, and it's like, what you been doing? It's like, oh, don't tell me until dinner, because we got to have something to talk about at dinner.
Are you sitting there in a place that you know what matters to you in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
And are you curious about your partner's edge or where they're at? Like, what are you thinking about?
Do you really go there?
And then
do you really
creating...
say, because how many times somebody asks, what are you thinking about? And you're like, well, let me make up a thing because I don't want to actually tell you what I was
really
thinking about
happened right now.
Which was like, the way you're chewing makes me want to smack you upside the head.
That's why guys don't want to have
Would that be an edge?
That would be an edge. And that would be really interesting. You could like open something up there in a
why
big way.
Does your chewing annoy me so much?
Right.
She cannot stand him. Let me give you the latest soundbite.
This is how the media remembered an innocent man who was executed over his speech. He's racist because he believed in merit over race. Well, he was a right-wing provocateur. We're not saying he asked for it.
I take no joy in the killing of anyone, no matter what they said.
But, wink, wink.
But if you ask me what the truth of his life was,
This is how they remember a terrorist who finally shriveled up and died after executing an innocent man. A symbol of resistance to racial injustice because she murdered someone for racial justice. A loving godmother who also murdered someone. A victim of the FBI for being a terrorist and murdering someone. Man kills over speech, fascist. Runaway killer, full hero. Man kills over speech, fascist. Runaway killer, escaped slave. Man kills over speech, fascist. Runaway killer, a freedom fighter who worked to eradicate political repression by fleeing to a repressive regime after using her politics as a reason to murder. But don't you dare mourn the free speech guy. The New York Times said this.
What's the CIA budget? You can't get an answer because nobody knows. And I don't think many people at CIA know, actually, because it's so compartmentalized. I mean, it's a country. CIA is not part of really the U.S. government. There's no accountability at all. They run companies. They have an army. They kill people. They spy on people. None of it with any oversight whatsoever or even knowledge of what they're doing. Even again, I'm not sure the CIA director knows himself what the whole agency is doing. That's all a byproduct of 9/11. 9/11 made that possible. What's the CIA budget? You can't get an answer because
Well, you won the election. Congratulations. But we do have a tradition of professional courtesy up here, and I can personally vouch for each and every one of these men.
You're all fired.
What's up, guys? Benny. I got some information that will make your blood boil. Get ready. I just grokked a couple of interesting questions here. What is the average salary of a federal worker versus a private sector worker? You know, you and me most likely have to just go hang a shingle in this economy that is constantly under attack by the people in Washington and trying our level-headed best to scrape 2 pennies together and make an honest living. Okay? It's becoming harder and harder. But did you know that public sector employees in America, because of their lavish unions and their lavish protections, make on average of $108,000 a year? This is the federal sector. The average annual salary for a federal civilian employee is approximately $101,000 per year. This is in 2023. They got raises, 5% raise. Did you get a 5% raise? You get a 2% raise? Brings it to roughly $108,000 per year. That is a royal sum. That's your average compensation. There are many people that make a ton more than that. There are a lot of people that clearly are not deserving of that. Overall, U.S. private sector average is around $60,000 to $70,000, depending on where you live. $60,000 to $70,000. So the people who work for the Fed, who, by the way, you go through these buildings in Washington, D.C., they're just these grotesque slobs who do not work. They don't want to come into work. They do not want to lift a finger. They're in all these protected unions. They take 4-hour lunches. They don't do anything. All of them could be replaced by chatbots. And they're making a whole $40,000 more annually than the actual productive part of society. That is a lopsided, horrific reality. They give all the data here. So you may say, Benny, listen, it's not like there's a lot of federal workers, Like how many federal workers do you know? But that's just totally anecdotal. You'd be wrong. Total number of federal workers in mid-2025, the size of the U.S. federal government employs 2.93 million civilian workers. This excludes active military personnel, 1.3 million active duty military. So if you were to add active duty military, which of course I want them to be employed, but if you were to add that, then you're talking 5 million workers. The total raises to around 3 million civilians when including postal workers. My goodness. Combining with military, 4.3 million. So that seems like a lot. Like clearly, Amazon or Walmart or whatever, they're going to have more employees than the federal government, right? The federal government is not the number one employer in America. Largest employer in America. Largest employer is the federal government, followed by the Department of Defense, followed by other federal agencies. It's not even close. So the point of all this is that there is an obscene amount of waste and glut on the federal workers. Federal workers, probably like the biggest actual welfare program in the country, are these slovenly federal workers. And 100,000 of them are expected to quit today. Ladies and gentlemen, that should bring all of us great and resounding, massive cheers. Yeah, okay, so what's going on here? Well, let's read. Over 100,000 federal employees are expected to resign immediately and imminently under the Trump administration's sweeping deferred resignation program. The mass exodus is essential to finally draining the swamp and reasserting the presidential control over the bloated, unaccountable federal machine. Last week, Office of Personnel Management reportedly circulated internal guidance to agencies, warning them to prepare for waves of deferred resignations and reductions in force should Congress fail to approve full appropriations. Okay, there's a government shutdown. Agencies were told to begin drafting separation and reduction in force plans targeting non-essential positions. In January 28, 2025, the Office of Personnel Management issued a memo to the entire federal civil service titled A Fork in the Road, offering employees a deferred resignation option. The offer promised a continued salary and benefits through September 30th if workers left voluntarily. But if they signed away legal rights and accepted an exit by looming deadline, by mid-February, approximately 75,000 federal employees had signed their exit agreement. Now, as Trump and the White House prepares a new wave of more than 100,000 additional workers depart on Tuesday, today, making this the largest breakaway single-day drop in federal workforce in history, according to The Guardian. Now, it's just a drop in the bucket. Sadly, if you look at the actual numbers, I mean, total number of federal workers is 4.3 million. So 100,000 is not that much. But if you look at the actual civilian workforce, which is what should be the target here, and not the active duty military personnel, nobody wants our military to have no recruits and no one serving in it, then you can see that this number will begin to make a dent. Small one, but a dent nonetheless. 2.93 million civilian workers. How much should that number be cut? Well, let's see, down to the bone. 100,000 federal workers set to resign today. Largest resignation in history. Oh, yeah, baby. Amid looming government shutdown, 100,000 federal workers are reportedly resigning. The clock is ticking in Washington, D.C. If Congress and President Trump don't reach a deal by midnight on Tuesday, and the federal government will shut down, a move that would have immediate impacts across the region. Last week, OPM, Office of Budget and Management, instructed federal agencies to prepare for reduction force plans. This will be the largest decline in federal employment in a single year since World War II. Nice. According to the report from Senate Democrats, the resignation program will cost $14 billion. This is the email saying GTFO, right? It's the celebration online. We need oceanographic and atmosphere scientists. No, we don't. Look at this. This is like your perfect like federal worker too. Like, this is it. Like, this is just a retirement program for old pothead boomers, old filthy potheads from the 1960s and 70s. That's all it is. And they've done nothing. They've done literally nothing. You go through these federal buildings, it's just garbage. I mean, they're just like the buildings are filthy. The offices are dusty. Nobody ever shows up to work. Happy federal government shutdown day. 100,000 employees will be resigning today. Let's not forget that they took a buyout several months ago. This is great news. Cleaning of the house. 100,000 mass resignation just hours before shutdown. In the event of federal government shutdown, EPA plans to retain only 1,700 employees, which is less than 12% of its staff. Resignations are also expected. Volatile times for everyone depends on stable biofuels policy. Okay. That's
okay. I'm going to go ahead and pause that there, but I think it's great news. Let me know in the chat or in the comments if anybody out there has actually been affected by the government shutdown. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Benny Johnson. It's the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I'm following his channel. Great information. All right, let's jump back here. Let me share this back here to our main screen. And my mic was kind of muted out there for a bit. So let me go over some of this information that I did in the beginning. I played that like little 10 minutes of snippets there because I got some feedback from Susie and from Fxygrma. Let me go ahead and I'm going to share this again. And Fxygrma says I'm enjoying the opening snippet. So that's why I'm doing that again today. Let me know how you feel about it. And from Susie 7, let me share that one. I shared it, but I didn't read it to you because I was muted. First time watching. So there we have it. This is September 20th, 2025. Susie 7. I hope you're still watching again tonight. So with that being said, let's jump back here. And I do want to give shout outs here to some new followers. Just John 2 just started following my channel. Horses for Shelly just started following my channel. I Knew House 155 just started following my channel. Susie 7 that I just shared her comment just started following my channel. my my R Tiger, I guess, just started following my channel. Elaine Edshore Hotel. Elaine Ned's Hotels just started following my channel. S Burgess 01 just started following my channel. And IG Homes or LG Homes just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content tonight. All right. M41 Coco reposted my daily news wrap-up from last night. Big John Perez, Fxygrma, Susan7, and B Bailey 49 commented on my episode 1701 from last night. Debbie BS commented on my extra 486A and 486B and 486C. So thank you, folks, for your comments and reposting my video. I greatly appreciate that. I enjoy reading your comments. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on here to Charlie Kirk Show. Tom Homan responds to the alarming rise in left-wing assassination culture. We won't back down. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
Tom, I want to talk to you about something that impacts you personally with what you're doing with the Border Patrol, ICE, and that is this rising violence, this tide of violence, and it is left-wing vigilantism, and it's shocking and terrifying. I'm going to play it. This is a new clip. Fox News, Rutgers University has done a new poll, and I want to get your reaction. Play cut 57.
I want to ask you about this Rutgers report.
Good morning.
On the Network Contagion Research Center. This is their conclusion, okay? Users online are increasingly associating the memification of Luigi Mangione with calls for political violence against Elon Musk, President Trump, and others, reflecting the growing cyber social presence of assassination culture. And Aisha, you have some findings that they have here on justification.
It's alarming. And I want to put this up here. This is a justification for murder of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And you'll see here, they found that when it came to the left of center, 50% thought that it was justified to murder Elon Musk, 56% for President Trump.
So just to reiterate, Rutgers University has discovered that 50% of left-of-center respondents believed it is justified to murder Elon Musk for his opinions. 56% believed it's justified to kill Donald Trump for his. And I'm assuming had they asked ICE agents about ICE or ICE agents, that number would be similar. What do you do in an environment like this?
Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't fold. You know, my dad taught me as a young teenager, never go start a fight, never go look for a fight, but don't run away from one either. We're not running anywhere. It's amazing. This is not the country I grew up in. And that's what was great about Charlie and President Trump. They want that country back where, you know, we can talk our differences and not be violent. So it shocks me. It shocks me to hear that. I didn't know that just a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
That this is really where we're at as a nation. I truly believe the vast majority of Americans are peaceful,
Me too.
God-fearing, American-loving people. But you got that fraction of people that have just lost their minds. I mean, attacks against ICE officers is up over 1,000%. And what people don't, if you stop and think about it, ICE officers, they're not, you know, heartless robots. They don't hang their heart on a hook every day they go to work. They're moms and dads too. They're sons and daughters. And they put a gun on their hip and put a bulletproof vest on to go do their job. And they don't make a lot of money doing it. And the hate for them, toward them, is based on a lot of false, negative rhetoric being pushed by members of Congress, members of the media, mayors, governors of sanctuary cities.
Let's play some of this then. This is because a lot of this right now, the story is around Chicago, it's around Portland, and I know that there was a lot of protest. I would call it worse than protests. It's riots, it's violence, it's intimidation, it's thug culture, it's Antifa culture. And, you've got Oregon governors and, Tina Kotek, saying there's no insurrection, there's no threat to national security. Play cut 33.
I have been abundantly clear with them that Portland and the state of Oregon believe in the rule of law, and we can manage our own local public safety needs. There is no insurrection, there is no threat to national security, and there is no need for military troops in our major city. Military service members should be dedicated to real emergencies. The members of the Oregon National Guard, their mission is to stand up and protect Oregonians, and they will do that every day, but they are not needed in the city. They are not needed here.
Your reaction?
She should take a drive around Portland. I just was in Portland 3 weeks ago. I was at the ICE facility that's under attack every night. Matter of fact, I became a little angry because of the damage done to the building, the graffiti. And I asked the person, one of the people there who's in charge of security, why are we not cleaning this up? And he says, well, because we'll have to clean it up again tomorrow, because I'll come right back and damage the property again. You're talking about people damaging United States federal property with a felony. You're talking about following our employees home from work to their homes, putting them at great risk. She ought to go look at the ICE facility. Go to the ICE facility and sit there for 24 hours and see what these men and women.
Okay, unbelievable. Yeah, these Democrat governors and mayors, they would rather sacrifice the people in their towns that's voting for them, the citizens of the United States, and, of course, they prefer the illegal aliens over the actual American citizens. They just ignore them and let people destroy the city. It's been like this for decades now. Okay? Look at Chicago. The murder rate in Chicago has been astronomical for decades, and New York and Los Angeles. But the Democrats think that's just fine, I guess. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from the Charlie Kirk Show. I'm following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right. Let's jump back here and scoot on down and see what Wendy Bell has to say in relation to the Schumer shutdown. Okay, and I'm going to hope this starts up like right after her Pledge of Allegiance. So let's get started here.
News, yes, government shutdown. Democrats prove who they are and how much of our money they've wanted to, waste and have been wasting. By playing the shutdown chicken with Republicans, Republicans came to the table last night, the Senate, they needed to vote. You needed to get 60 votes. Got to get this across the finish line. We don't have the numbers. But by the end of the evening, the final vote, we had at least three Democrats willing to come over to the side of the Republican Party and say, you know what, it is in the best interest of the American people for us to stop acting like partisan jerks and for us to do something very basic, and that is push for 7 weeks for everything to stay the same. Spending levels stay the same. Nothing changes in this 24-page document Senator John Thune held up. This is what it says. We're not changing anything. We're not adding anything. We're not spending more. No big deal. We just need more time to collaborate so we can get the appropriations bill, so we can figure out what the budget is, where the money is going. And the Democrats said, no, we're not going to do that. Chuck Schumer said no. 13 times Chuck Schumer has said yes. Today, no. And the government shuts down. So as everybody is talking about that over on the left side, I want to talk about what the president did in the Oval Office yesterday. And I thought this was very interesting because a couple weeks ago, September 12th, I caught some interesting headlines over on CNBC because we were noticing the shares of Pfizer and Moderna were going down rather precipitously. These are heavily traded, right? And we were like, oh, very interesting. Apparently, I believe these drug manufacturers were concerned that people within the Trump administration were going to start talking about and linking dangers in children and death in children to Pfizer and Moderna's COVID vaccines. Now, we haven't heard anything that definitive from the administration yet, but you can imagine how sphinctered Albert Bourla over at Pfizer was, big time. And then lo and behold, yesterday in the Oval Office, we have this meeting. You've got J.D. Vance sitting back behind the president. You've got Howard Lutnick, right? Stephen Miller. You have Marty McCullough. You have RFK Jr., Dr. Oz, the president, and Albert Bourla. And we're like, really? What's going on here? This is going to be probably the most significant cost savings in the next year. Supposed to hit in January, I believe. President Trump manages to get best or most favored nations pricing from Pfizer on a handful of medications that are super duper expensive. For instance, $137, going to be down to $15 to $18. Giant news. We're done bankrolling the rest of the world's prescription medications. And you know what? All it took was one guy who knows how to use leverage, if you will, to put the screws to Big Pharma and say, you know what? I'm not really feeling it. I don't really think our people want to get boned by you anymore. We represent 4% of the world population, and yet we manage to pay 75% of the planet's prescription drug care costs. So how about no? And we want most favored nations pricing, which means wherever on planet Earth that particular drug that you or somebody that you love needs, wherever it is the cheapest, that is the cost that you are going to pay. It can't be done. It'll never happen. Pie in the sky. He'll never get it across the finish line. And then, well, then there's that. Here's the fact sheet from the White House. Donald Trump announcing a first deal to bring most favored nation pricing to American patients. Don't underestimate what this is going to do to the cost of healthcare in this country. And so you got the 1-2 punch, right? You've got the prices coming down. You've got illegal aliens not getting back onto the Medicare healthcare rolls, right? Medicaid, Medicare, all of this stuff. No more sponging. Let's actually take care of Americans, shall we? And if you're an able-bodied person and you don't want to work and you want to get benefits, you can take a seat because we're done with you as well. Advancing most favored nation pricing. Today, President Donald Trump announced the first agreement with a major pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, to bring American drug prices in line with the lowest paid by other developed nations. The agreement will provide every state Medicaid program in the country access to the most favored nation's drug prices on Pfizer products, resulting in many millions of dollars in savings, and continuing President Trump's historic efforts to strengthen the program for the most vulnerable. This agreement ensures foreign nations can no longer use price controls to free ride on American innovation by guaranteeing most favored nations prices on all new innovative medicines Pfizer brings to the market. The agreement requires Pfizer to repatriate increased foreign revenue on existing products that Pfizer realizes as a result of the president's strong America First U.S. trade policies for the benefit of the American patients. And this agreement requires Pfizer to offer medicines at a deep discount off of the list price when selling directly to American patients. Taken together, more than 100 million patients alone are impacted by the diseases Pfizer's medications treat. 100 million. And many of these will benefit from the president's successful negotiation of lower drug prices for Americans. So I'll tell you a couple of the examples here. Eucrisa. It's a topical ointment for atopic dermatitis. It's going to be made available at an 80% discount. Xeljanz, a widely used oral medication for rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and ulcerative colitis. 40% discount to patients purchasing directly. Zavzpret, a commonly used treatment for migraines, will be sold directly to patients at a 50% discount. This is just the beginning. So as we go through today's program, and you're going to hear polling that's going to tell you that despite everything you see, despite all of the rollback of the ridiculous Biden-era policies that were horrible, that made our country unsafe, that gave our money to people who broke our laws to come here, right? That Donald Trump, his approval is in the toilet. People can't stand him. This man is crazy. He's a danger to democracy. No. What President Trump is a danger to the deep state. Yes. And every day that he sits behind that magnificent, resolute desk, and every day he takes out one of those giant markers, and every day he signs another executive order, which hopefully, after we get across this government shutdown, Senate Republicans can start pushing through more quickly. This president is dismantling what the left has tried so desperately to do, and that is to destroy the greatest place on planet Earth. Yep. Now, if you're still not awake to that fact, that this is the overarching goal of the deep state, the left, the progressive ideology of suck. If you pay attention to this program a couple times a week at a minimum, we'll get you on the right side of this. I guarantee it. So don't fall for the stories that they're going to put out. Nobody likes what this president is doing. Well, you know what? I voted for this. I'm absolutely delighted by this. And you have a president, the only president in American history who has gone to bat every single day to make your life better, to make your family healthier, to give you access to actual science, to tell you the truth, and at the same time, to protect you from all of the many incursions into your freedom, your stability, and your joy. Oh, my. What a great day to live in the United States of America. When we come back, John Fetterman again sounds like the only person on Capitol Hill whose brain is working the right way. And the dude had a stroke, okay? So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that these Democrats, it's all on them, guys. This government shutdown. Let's go through the nuts and bolts of it next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, let me get this up here. Past her break. Should be about the 20. Let's see what we got here.
Government.
Here we go. Enjoy.
Oh, I love that you've got the Democrats shutting down the American government because they want health care for everybody. Everybody should have health care. And then there's Donald Trump on the other side. He's like, yeah, and about your drug prices, how about they come down about 80%? Everybody good with that? Okay, and break. And then he's coming out, Brock. What's this Trump RX we're hearing about? It's like
that the average person is going to be able to get drug at good prices, the drugs they need.
And you've got to love that he's putting his name all over it. Who isn't going to like this? But if you believe the polls and you believe the Democrats, nobody likes Donald Trump. They don't like what he's doing. He's a threat to democracy. Right. All right. So let's talk about this vote. Let's talk about what happened yesterday. Wasn't a whole lot, to be perfectly honest with you. Since 1976, we could say, the U.S. government has shut down 20 times. 20 times. The longest was during Donald Trump's first term, 2018. Shutdown lasted 34 days. You know what you are...
And let me remind you of what that shutdown was. Because he wanted $5 billion. $5 billion is what he wanted to build the fence at the Mexican-U.S. border. And the Democrats wouldn't do it. Now, they happened to be in charge at that time, and they would not do it. They let the government stay shut down as much as they're whining and crying about it now. They let the government shut down for over 30 days, okay? They are wanting $1.5 trillion so that they can pay for illegal aliens' medical, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. They let the government be shut down for over 30 days because Donald Trump wanted $5 billion for the border wall. And they're shutting it down now because the Republicans aren't willing to give them $1.5 trillion to pay for illegals, medical, probably housing, probably food, probably votes. So just to put this into perspective.
Getting in this iteration of bad politics, you are having a captive audience that maybe didn't wake up to the darkness of the deep state and the realities of the slithering serpentine nature of the swamp during COVID. Maybe they didn't have children at home and they didn't watch them do the learning on their computer, which was an abysmal failure. Maybe they didn't pay attention to all of the ways in which the Biden administration weaponized against people who merely didn't want to be lied to anymore. Well, you know what? They're paying attention now. And what do they see? Well, they see a Republican core group of leaders, whether it be Mike Johnson, John Thune, John Kennedy, J.D. Vance, any of these people who very succinctly say, this is what we're trying to do. We just need 7 weeks to finish the appropriations so we have the workings of the budget, where things go, right? All that. All we need is 7 weeks. You just have to agree to this. Nothing has to change. And they see the Democrats hijack the process, point fingers, gnash teeth, wail, and pretend that this is all about the Republicans, right? Trying to ruin everything. This is not going to do well for the Democratic Party. They're already in the toilet. John Fetterman has more clarity than the rest of Congress, which is shocking. And he had a stroke. So he says, look, I voted. He was the lone Democrat in the Senate to vote with Republicans, who again need 60 votes to get this thing across the finish line. 7 weeks. And John Fetterman's like, I don't think we should be playing politics with the government right now. And that's what's going on. Listen.
Hi, this evening I just voted for 2 CRs tonight. And the first one votes to affirm that we would like to extend the ACA tax credits because, of course, I voted for health care. The second vote is about making sure that we keep our government open. And I did vote for that because I think it's a sad event if we shut our government down later today. So for me, our nation doesn't believe that kinds of chaos. Now, for me, it's about more over the country, not the party in this kinds of moments just like this.
Okay, so you have 3 Democrats, right? 3 Democrats in. So John Fetterman is one. You've got Angus King, senator out of Maine. You've got Catherine Cortez Masto out of Nevada. So last night, before it was end of day, those 3 defected from the Democrats and said, you know what? We don't like what you're doing. We want the government to stay open. Okay. Now they need several more. This isn't the end of the line, but as portions of the federal government have now ground to a halt, as of midnight this morning, if you're listening to the legacy media spin it, you'd think the sky is falling, right? But if you cut through the noise, the shutdown is definitely on the shoulders of the Democrats, who refuse to play ball on a clean, continuing resolution. They've dug in their heels. They've prioritized their pet projects, their radical agendas over keeping the lights on for non-essential services. And quite frankly, J.D. Rucker's right over at the Liberty Daily. It is the best thing they've probably done for as long as we can remember. Now everybody can see what's at stake. I want you to hear Speaker Mike Johnson. He's sharing a video mashup. This is how quick they're on this stuff. Sharing a video mashup to remind everybody how Democrats Democrats under Joe Biden insisted shutdowns, they're just bad.
This is good.
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most. A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos.
Families will be hurt. Farmers will be hurt.
It's the service members who will work without a paycheck. It's the firefighters who will be furloughed.
This shutdown, you know who's going to feel the pain? You know who it hurts? You. Everyday people and the most vulnerable. Seniors, veterans, working families, hungry kids, y'all.
Democrats are signaling they're ready for a fight. This time, Schumer tells the Associated Press, quote, things have changed.
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
It is not normal, says Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This is just, if they can lie to you with such ease over something so obvious, imagine how many years these people have lied to you before. When we come back on the Wendy Bell Radio program, this is how the Democratic propaganda wins.
Good night, love you.
This is, of course, the...
Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and pause this here and move on. Yep. My son just came in and told me good night, so I had to tell him good night and love you. I guess you heard that on the mic. But at any rate, let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell. Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following the channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, getting back here. Let me close out the live chat again. And folks, give me some chats here. Let me know what you think about this this information and about this shutdown, and if you've been affected by it. Oh my goodness, or you know, the sky is falling. Gee, many Christmas. These Democrats, they are so hypocritical, two-faced, and backstabbing. I don't understand how they get any frickin' votes, except for the ones that they buy with the $1.5 trillion that they want the Republicans to say, oh, sure. Yeah, we're already $38 trillion in debt. Let's just add another $1.5 trillion so that you guys can buy some votes. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. X22 report, his episode 3742A, the globalist system is ripping itself apart. The U.S. has all the leverage. You heard Wendy Bell talk about leverage. Well, okay, now X22 report's going to talk about some leverage.
Salvador.
Let me get this back here just a tad.
As you can be effortless.
Get it past his commercial. Here we go.
Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, they are now witnessing the destruction of the globalist system. And since Trump has been putting everything in place and putting the tariffs in place, we could see that he's evening the playing field. Now, the globalist system does not work well when you even the playing field because it's very, very lopsided. And they like to take the currency from this country and pass it along to other countries to push their socialist programs. And you could see, since Trump now is evening the playing field, countries are going to have a very difficult time. Now, you have to remember, the deep state, the central bankers, they were going to crash the economic system no matter what. Remember, that was their plan from the very, very beginning. And Trump, before they were able to crash the system, he decided, you know something, let's create a parallel economic system. Let's use tariffs like Andrew Jackson, McKinley, and the rest before we had the central bank system. Let's use that to bring in income externally. And we will bring the energy costs down by drilling in this country. We'll get rid of the Green New scam, and we will sell the gold card and technology and energy across the globe. And we will compete with the Federal Reserve while we're destroying the globalist system, because this is what they wanted anyhow. But again, if we didn't have a parallel economic system and we didn't have what Trump was doing, we would be in a very bad place. Now, Europe, they are not prepared for all of this. They are now shifting into the system that the central bankers want. Now, are they going to succeed? Most likely not. Yes, if America fell and they had complete and utter control over America, yes, everyone would follow suit. But since they don't, what's going to happen, just like the COVID vaccine card, that completely and utterly fell apart. So what do you think is going to happen with the digital ID, with the central bank digital currency, with their entire Great Reset Green New scam that they're pushing? It's going to fall apart, because this is why Trump set up the parallel system to counter everything the deep state is doing. Remember, he has all the leverage. The people here in this country, the U.S. has the leverage. They've been taking from us. We've been taking in their products, a lot of the products we don't even need. And you could see that countries now are having a very, very difficult time. If you look at Germany, if you look at France, you look at the UK, they're having major problems. Now, Trump, he's making deals with other countries, and he is setting everything up to benefit the U.S. If these countries want to help themselves, they can. But most of these countries, they're being directed by installed politicians. And when you look at France, they're in a debt spiral, and you could see that their entire economic system is completely and utterly falling apart. And they're continually borrowing and borrowing money. And you have to remember, the central bank system, it's a system of debt. It's not a system of prosperity. It's a system of debt. And when you look at France, they're borrowing a lot of money. And the strategy is leaving deep holes in the public accounts and barely hides the fractures of fragmented society, where class conflict grows more aggressive and Islamist subcultures flourish, with new borrowing at 5.6% of GDP this year and total debt of 114%. France faces the classic Ponzi dilemma. Once old debt can no longer be rolled into new issuance, the entire system collapses. And markets are already signaling trouble. French 10-year.
And folks, that's exactly what the Democrats want to do, because they keep spending money, keep borrowing money from the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal nor has any reserves, until the United States collapses. Okay? That's what they want to do. Donald Trump is trying to fight that, and they're trying to fight back at him from preventing them to destroy this country. It's as simple as that.
Yields negative as recently as 2020 now hover around 3.5%, the highest in a decade. Spreads against German bonds have blown out to 75 to 80 basis points from under 30 just a few years ago. Investors see mounting risk in French paper, and it's going to get worse and worse as time goes on, because you have to remember, the deep state, the central bankers, they're not here to improve their economic system because they can't. It's a central bank system. It's a debt system. And the only way out of it is to collapse the old system and bring in the new system. And the only way to cover that entire thing up is to bring the entire world to war. Trump now is building a brand new system. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, why don't the other countries just do this? Why don't they just build a new system? Because the central bank system in those countries, the installed politicians, they're still controlled. So the central bank doesn't want a tariff system in all these countries. They don't want a separate system that brings in external revenue. They want a system where you have to borrow the currency and you have to pay the currency back with interest attached. This is how they control the people. So it's very, very different here in this country, because without Trump, we would be heading down the same path as all these other countries, which means we have the leverage over the central bank system, and the world is now watching. The people of these countries, they're watching the U.S., they're watching the U.S. economy. I'm not talking about the politicians that are installed in these countries. I'm talking about the actual people, because they are going to make, what I find very interesting, that 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% or more to grab one that guarantee. And as their system breaks down, they're going to say, wait, what's going on with the U.S.? Is it breaking down? Are they having the same exact problems? How come their system is flourishing right now? Whatever Trump did, it is working. Just like when people look at El Salvador, they look at Argentina, and they look at those leaders there, where they completely reversed everything the central bank was trying to do. And people of other countries, they say, wow, they're improving every single day, and it's getting better and better and better. And when you look at Argentina, when you look at El Salvador, when you look at all these different countries, you could see it very, very clearly. Here in the United States, you're going to start to see this, and it's going to become clearer and clearer every single day. Because think about everything that Trump is doing right now. He's setting it up to make sure that when the central bankers decide to collapse their currency, remember, it is their currency. This is not the people's currency. We don't create this currency. It's a Federal Reserve note. We borrow it. And for the pleasure of borrowing this, they charge us interest. It's like if you went to a bank and say, listen, I need a loan for a car, or I need a loan for a house, or I need a loan for anything. Yeah, we'll give you some money, but here's the interest rate. You're going to have to pay us back with this interest. It's the same thing with the Federal Reserve. They're loaning the entire country and the world money. And for you to use this money that they're loaning you, you're going to have to pay it all back. That's why they have the Internal Revenue Service. And once again, this is what Trump is moving us away from. And the only way to do this is by evening the playing field in regards to trade, propping up the Federal Reserve note. It might sound a little ridiculous, but again, we don't want the Federal Reserve note collapsing while we're transitioning into a new system. This is why he wanted the Genius Act. This is why we have the stable coin. This is why we're having the crypto reserves, to protect the Federal Reserve note, because we don't want that crashing as we move forward. And we could see that he's also bringing back manufacturing, because this is very, very important. People need jobs. We need to produce products to send to other countries. And you could see that Trump,
absolutely,
he is doing the opposite of what the central bankers have done over a long period of time. And you could see that he is slowly but surely, I don't think it's that slow, it's moving pretty fast, he's bringing the manufacturers back to this country. Because as he placed tariffs on all these different countries, the manufacturers of furniture, of clothing, and many other things, pharmaceuticals, they're looking at this saying, okay, this is not going to benefit us. This is the business decision to stay in these countries is not going to work. So we're going to have to make a decision. Now, I do believe he's, with the tariffs, he's going to pressure them to move back to the United States. And I do believe he's going to reduce regulation, reduce taxes, and show these manufacturers, look, energy is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper here in this country. And we also have skilled labor that is ready to go. And remember, when people say, well, it's going to take a long time for the manufacturers to come back, yes, it might take a couple of months, might take a year. But again, you have to remember, they have to build the plants. And that creates construction jobs. It gives jobs to plumbers, electricians, those people that do woodwork, those people that do bathroom design or office design, those people that create the roads, do the landscaping, and all the materials that go along with this. So this also creates a lot of jobs. And I do believe in the next year or so, we're going to see a lot of jobs being created, a lot of people going back to work. And as energy prices come down and Trump returns the buying power to the people, the wages that are being paid, they're going to feel pretty darn good, because they're going to give you enhanced buying power, and you're going to be able to purchase items in this country compared to what is happening now. You have to remember.
Okay, I want to pause it again here, folks, and jump in. Now, you see what he's doing here. I mean, he's trying to create jobs here in the United States for the American people. He's a billionaire. He doesn't care about anything other than helping people out. Why else would he be doing this? It's not to enrich him. It's to create jobs for the American people. Now turn around and look at what's happening in like San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Oakland, California. They allow people to go into these stores and shoplift up to $900 without even prosecuting them. Okay? You know, they're not even going to bother wasting their time to arrest these people unless they steal over $900 worth of stuff. Now, okay, these businesses can't afford that. That's why they're closing down these shops. You know, you hear people complain about, well, I have to drive 8 miles to the grocery store. I wonder why. Because the grocery stores in their area have closed down because the Democrats that are running these cities are allowing people to steal. Duh. Donald Trump is trying to create jobs for people that actually want to work and make a living so they can actually go out and buy things. That's the difference right there between Donald Trump and the Democrats. And they hate him for that. I don't know what in their skewed mind is about why they think it's okay for people to steal shit. And then just let them, if they do arrest them, they'll just let them walk out on the street. I played one of my extras this morning about a father whose 22-year-old daughter was killed by a guy that had been arrested 36 times before he murdered his daughter. 25 of those arrests were felonies. He should have spent 160 years in prison based on the felonies that he was released out on the street for committing. Democrats, they don't care about the people, the citizens, the hardworking people that want to have a decent life for themselves. They care more about the criminals, including the illegal aliens, which, just happen to fall into that criminal category.
The deep state players, the central bankers, they've been bringing in illegals because wages are very, very low. As the central bank system breaks down and the value of the currency loses value, people don't want to work for a minimum wage, and companies want to pay less and less and less because they're losing money with inflation. And this is why a lot of the manufacturers and companies have moved out of this country. But there's a lot of companies that can't move out of here. And that's why they have to bring in third world labor. But Trump is about to change all this. As he deports all these illegals, these jobs are going to be open. If they're open, who's going to fulfill them? It's going to be American workers. Now, of course, people are going to say, well, wait a minute. How are the American worker going to fill them if they didn't fill them before? Because wages were way too low and the companies don't want to pay. Well, if you start removing income tax and you make energy very, very low, it allows the company to increase their profits because energy costs are very low. And once again, if you remove a lot of the regulations and the taxes that go along with it, companies then can keep those funds. If you lower the interest rate, that also assists the companies.
Absolutely.
And when you look at the employee, when Trump starts to remove the income tax, what happens? Well, they have additional buying power, which means the companies do not have to pay a lot more because the income tax is removed, and that gives them the additional buying power. Yes, they can up their wages a little bit, but again, with that, it gives them additional buying power. And as energy continually drops, it gives the employee buying power because of low energy costs. So when you start to look at all this and you start to put it all together, you could see how all of a sudden employees can all of a sudden go back to work and they can get the salary. Now, Trump now has kept the inflation steady, which means that also gives the employees additional buying power. And what happens when Trump starts to make the move, once he gets rid of income tax, once he starts to make the move where he goes back to sound money, all of a sudden your buying power increases dramatically.
Absolutely.
And those people that are working, all of a sudden, they feel incredibly fantastic because now they have all this buying power.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. And let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from X22 Report. I'm following this channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, jumping back here, I want to remind you folks that these videos that I share with you are videos that come directly from the producers that created them. Okay, Benny Johnson, Charlie Kirk Show, Wendy Bell Radio, X22 Report. I have the links to the videos right here in the description box, links to their channels right here with the videos that I'm sharing with you. Right here, Wendy Bell Radio, the Schumer Shutdown. There's the link to her video, and Wendy Bell Radio is the producer of this video. The link to this channel is, you click on it, and guess where it takes you? Oh, to Wendy Bell. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, one other thing that I want to talk about, folks. Here, let me check out the live chats here. Yeah, we have a few live chats. I want to go ahead and copy those into a comment. because when this live stream is over, those live chats just kind of go away. There we go. And speaking of comments, I want to share my stats with you starting out for October for Rumble Studio. Now, right here, creator program, when I meet these goals, Rumble actually starts promoting my videos. So more people get this information to actually understand what's going on in the world. Okay, we just started out. I need 30 hours of streamed video. I've got 9.7. My goal for hours watched this month, 200. I've already got 206.9 hours watched. Total unique chatters this month, I've got 4. I need 20. So folks, if you're out there, let's see, right now I've got 185 people watching. It would be great if, 80 of you would just chat hi or whatever. How you doing? I'm here. Tell me if you like something. Tell me if you don't like something. Also, Rumble Premium exclusive hours. I've got 0 on that, but I'm going to, in my daily news wrap-up, run part of that as a Rumble Premium exclusive. So I'm going to have that by tomorrow. And Rumble Studio host reads, I need 5. I've got 1 of those, and I'm getting ready to do another one momentarily here. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and get this started from Morning Kick and Chuck Norris. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey you, there's this video. It's from Chuck Norris. Yeah, it was insane. He's in his 80s and says he still feels like he's in his 50s.
It was pretty shocking. He had some pretty cool tips in there too on what he's doing, including these 3 foods that he avoids like the plague.
He explained all the things he was doing, and it was super simple. They're so easy, and you can do them right at home. When I first saw this, I knew I had to share this with you all.
Since what happened to Chuck could also happen for you too. But with any new method, of course, your results can vary. But the video is definitely worth checking out.
Watch his method now by clicking the link in chat or scanning the QR code on your screen. You won't believe how simple it is.
All right, there we go. Okay, getting back here. I've got 198 people watching right now. Please, give me some chats. And also, let me do a quick refresh on this. Close this. Hi, M41 Coco. Where's everyone from? Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, I've got 199 people watching, and I've got Coco 3 thumbs up. So, if I could get 196 of you to slide down here, all you got to do is scroll down and click this little thumbs up icon here. That would be great. That also helps promote this information. The information that you've heard tonight, you're not going to hear on the mainstream media. You're not going to hear it on CNN or MSNBC or ABC, CBS, NBC. You're not going to hear that because they do not want Donald Trump to succeed. They're going to tell lies about him. It's a threat to our democracy that Donald Trump is shutting down the government. No, there were a bunch of Democrats that didn't want to keep the government open, so they didn't vote for this continuing resolution. It's not the Republicans' fault in the House. It's not the Republicans' fault in the Senate. It's not Donald Trump's fault as a Republican in the White House because the Democrats refused to continue the resolution to keep the government open. Duh. Okay, there were 52 Republicans that voted yes on this. All right, Rand Paul was the only Republican that didn't vote yes on it, but that's another problem in itself. All they needed was 8 Democrats. Amazing, but yet it's the Republicans' fault that the government is shut down. Okay, let's jump back over here on Murtech.com. And the link to Murtech.com is in the description box as well, I might add. But all these videos that I shared with you here tonight are the videos that I've posted on Murtech.com. Okay, right here's the Charlie Kirk video that I shared with you. Right there. It's a Charlie Kirk video. Right there's the Benny Johnson video that I shared with you. On down here is the Wendy Bell Radio video that I shared with you. These are in alphabetical orders. And here's the X22 report video that I shared with you. Folks, this is your one-stop shop for no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. And it's a free site. Okay? Now, I don't have time to share all this information with you, but I do have my daily news wrap-up coming up here about 9:30, where at this point I have over 65 videos of information that's dropped all day long, talking about the shutdown, talking about other things, to keep you up to date on what's really going on behind your back that the Democrats and the mainstream media are hiding from you, and the deep state. So go ahead and take a break, grab a donut, cup of coffee, grab a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, and meet me back here about 9:30, and we'll get this going. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate that. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.